Welcome to Christian Warrior Training. My name is Keith. In this episode, we're going to talk about a shooting that happened yesterday. This is recorded on Monday. This happened Sunday morning services. A man was shot in a parking lot of a Methodist church by another man with a rifle. That man with the rifle was there for church safety. All right, before we get into it, hit subscribe, follow. There's tons of you people that watch my videos, but don't subscribe. I really need you to hit subscribe because it helps me with the algorithm and helps this get out to a little bit more people. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty of this incident. And then we're going to talk about what you can do for your church to make sure this doesn't happen at your church. All right, so the details. This happened outside Lake Houston Methodist Church, which is in Huffman, Texas, outside of Houston. The incident began when a suspicious man whose mother had previous associations with the church made a vague threat to a church member by saying, "Today is going to be the day," and then referenced the pastor of the church. Now, I've had this same type of thing happen to me where I've had people fixated on church leadership and then come in and they're obviously mentally ill. It's very easy to deal with those people. I'll be putting out a class shortly about how to deal with mentally ill people in your church. It is not that rough. The first thing you should do is call the police right away. Now, the man had reportedly been arrested the previous Sunday on an unrelated incident. It might have been released on that Sunday morning. Now, he was spotted near the church and members alerted a group called Texas EquiSearch. Now, I had to look up what Texas EquiSearch was. Basically, it's a search and rescue team that works in Texas. Now, that Texas EquiSearch member apparently was contacted by church members to provide safety. So he was at the church. He saw the man come back to the church and he confronted him in the parking lot while the Texas EquiSearch person was armed with a rifle. That man that had been acting bizarrely ran at the Texas EquiSearch member with a vape pen in his hand. And the Texas EquiSearch member shot 2 rounds from the rifle, striking and killing that man in the parking lot. Now, at the time, there were 50 to 70 people inside of the church, and the Harris County Sheriff's Office is investigating this incident. Now, let's talk about proportional response. When we have incidents like this, it takes a while for the report to be done and for all the information to come out. But as you guys know, I'm a 30-year law enforcement veteran. I've seen lots of press conferences. It looks like all the available information is out there. So we'll go off the assumption that it's true that the man just had a vape pen and was running at that Texas EquiSearch member and then was shot by him. It comes down to what is the threat that you're perceiving from that person. Now, based off of his threats that today is the day, and the Texas EquiSearch person feels that that person is actually holding a weapon and is going to come do great bodily injury or fatal harm to him, then more than likely that shooting is going to be justified. But I always like to say, just because you can doesn't mean you should. You have to have intermediate responses for people. If somebody's running at you with a weapon in hand and it's not something that's going to immediately kill you, certainly, if that's the case, I could have killed a ton of people during my career as a police officer. But I chose to use intermediary force because that was the appropriate thing to do. Now, look, we have video training on use of force, and we talk about proportional use of force in that video. I would suggest that you go back and take that training, go to courses.christianwarriortraining.com. You can sign up for that training, get a certificate of training at the end of that after you get done with everything. I've also got another video on this website that talks about less lethal options that you can use for people that don't present a deadly force threat to you, but need to be controlled. And it's easy to Monday morning quarterback somebody. And trust me, I've been Monday morning quarterbacked for 30 years, but it's important to look at these incidents and look at how we can learn from it. The very first thing is, it sounds like they just recruited this guy to come provide safety while they worshiped. You should have a safety team for your church. Christians all over the world are persecuted and murdered for their faith. If you read the Bible, we know what is coming. We know that we're going to be persecuted for our faith. In America, we've had a very easy time as Christians, but we know based in scripture that that's not going to be the case all the time. You should have a safety team out front that belongs to your church, that knows what's going on with the church, knows the people, knows everything about it. Imagine them as enhanced greeters. Just drafting people when you think there's a threat is not the appropriate way to go, because it creates liability for your church and creates liability for the person that you just grabbed to provide that security. And that's not appropriate. We should be better than that. The other thing is, your church security team should have training every month. I like my team. My team does a great job. We train 4 hours every month. What do? A lot of it is talking about stuff like this, proportional use of force. If somebody is coming at me with a vape stick after saying today is going to be the day and he's running at me, do I think he's going to do harm to me? Absolutely. Do I think he's going to kill me? No. I don't. But that doesn't mean I have to get in a fist fight with the person either. I can pull out pepper spray. I can pull out a baton. I can put, it depends on whatever's legal in your state. There's things I can do to control that person to keep myself from getting hurt, right? Churches seem to be a magnet for people that are mentally ill and want to start something. It's because the voices in their head are telling them something about that church and they're believing it. And a side note, a woman that I totally respect, a lady that I grew up with, she works at a church, has a lot of mentally ill people come to her church because they work with the homeless a lot. And one of the phrases she likes doing is it God talking to you or is it the voices in your head pretending to be God? That phrase right there, I think is one of the best phrases you could use when you're talking to people that come into your church with these grandiose hallucinations. And it's a good way to start talking to them. Most importantly, though, is when the guy left, they should have called the police. By calling the police are aware of what's going on. They might even know the person and can go to their house and intercede for you right away. I can't tell you how many times somebody called the police and things were on video and I would look at the video and go, oh, I know that guy. I know where he lives. Let me go deal with this right now. And then I deal with it and then they never hear from him again. Or the officer could not know him and decide, you know what, I'm going to hang out in the church to make these people feel better. And he writes his reports in the church parking lot. And what do you know? The guy shows up and now it's a police officer who's got training to deal with this. Now, I'm not going to pass judgment because there's a lot of questions that weren't answered. Like, did the EquiSearch member feel that that person was actually holding a handgun? And these questions have to be answered. But I can tell you how this is going to end. Ultimately, the church is going to get sued. That Texas EquiSearch member is going to get sued or might be in jail. We don't know. And it's not going to end out. And we have one dead person. That is not a good thing. And it's something that could have been prevented. It could have been prevented by having a good safety team in place to take care of church safety needs. Now, look, I know a lot of people are going to be upset about the Monday morning quarterbacking, but we have to Monday morning quarterback these issues so that we can become better and protect our churches. I'm not trying to make SWAT teams. I'm trying to make professional safety teams that are also basically enhanced greeters that make our church welcoming, but can still keep everybody safe while they worship. We have to do better as a group to make everybody safe. Let me know what you think in the comments about everything we just talked about. I love hearing your comments. I love hearing what you have to say. That's all I've got for now. Do me a favor and remember your ABCs. Always be caring.